Welcome to the University of Eastern Finland's Innovation Pathways podcast, where science meets real-world impact.
Welcome to the University of Eastern Finland's Innovation Pathways podcast. This is where science meets real-world impact. And in this series, we explore how ideas born in our labs evolve into innovations, collaborations, and often into companies. Today, in our second episode, we are asking and answering more big questions. Why build collaboration across borders? How to find it beyond academia? And what does it bring back to the university in terms of real-world results? Now, to answer these key questions, we're joined by two University of Eastern Finland professors, board members, and seasoned innovators. First of all, Professor Jyrki Saarinen. He is Professor of Photonics Applications and Commercialization at University of Eastern Finland, and he's also a portfolio entrepreneur, a board member, and a mentor. And also we have Professor Juho Pesonen, and he is Professor of Tourism Business at the University of Eastern Finland, and also an advisor to business and a board member. My name's Patrick Halford, and I have the pleasure of facilitating this important discussion, so let's jump in. Now, the first question I will bring to Jyrki Saarinen. So, University of Eastern Finland has a very wide range of faculties and research, and that opens up a lot of opportunity for collaboration with business across the world. So I want to start by asking some examples from you of some of the international collaborations that you've been involved in driving for the university with business.
Yeah, so we are one of the most international departments even in Finland. So more than half of our employees are foreigners, and that automatically brings a lot of connections because all of them, they are coming from all over the world. Even the students, postdocs, doctoral students. So they have their own connections. But then, of course, let's say collaboration with the EU and also US and Asia is very important. And I have been kind of doing everything to bring that. So one thing is to go to meet different kind of places, conferences and so on, and give back ideas to the professors who actually then have to build the collaboration.
And I believe you've just come back from Japan and California. And
yes.
Can you share any of the things that you were doing there? Yeah,
in Japan, I was pleasure to be the guest for the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, and there were more than 20 countries represented, so a lot of connections again. And then I was in US. I was in the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which is a great place to see how you can apply photonics, because that's part of my professorship. And then I was in the LA region, where the Consulate of Finland organized a lot of trips to the meetings with the companies and universities in the LA region. And then I was in the Photonics West, which is the most important conference and event in photonics in the world.
Thank you. We'll dig more into that in a minute. So, Juho, can you tell us a little bit about some of your international activities and what you're driving with University of Eastern Finland?
Yeah, especially regarding my own position as a professor of tourism businesses, we are working with a lot of tourism small and medium-sized enterprises. So they are a completely different kind of companies than what we typically consider as innovative, but something that we find extremely meaningful to work with, because they are forming kind of like a backbone of our industry, of the tourism industry, and they are employing a lot of people. There's about 95% to 99% of all of the businesses in our field are small and medium-sized enterprises, and we do enjoy working with them and have worked with them in different kinds of EU projects, for example, across the European Union, especially in the rural regions, countrysides, where these kind of innovations and, let's say, new ways of doing business are desperately needed if we consider that we also want to keep these regions sustained and provide livelihoods for many people. And we are seeing that tourism is one of these businesses that really makes that possible, because otherwise the businesses have very few reasons to really stay in the rural areas.
And it's very much a circular economy. I don't mean in the traditional description, but in terms of tourism businesses feed other businesses, which also feeds back into new innovations and the university. So it's kind of circulating around.
Absolutely, and tourism is meaningful, especially because of its significant impact across the industries. As you said, that when tourists come to a destination, they go to retail stores, they go to restaurants, hotels, do a lot of activities, visit attractions, museums, all of these kind of things, and they are having bigger impact than just the impact of tourism. Not to mention all of these cross-cultural impacts and how we learn more about the world through tourism, which is also quite important part of the business.
Yes. Jyrki, if I can come back to you, you were talking about all of these different places you are engaging with and visiting. How do you stay on top of the speed of what is going on, and how does the team stay on top of the opportunities?
You have to keep on meeting people all over again and so on, and you cannot just trust that, okay, you have met one person and then you don't need to meet them again. And also for Asia, this kind of building the personal relationship is highly important. You cannot do business in Japan unless you first have established the personal contacts.
Yes, and is that the same in the activities you engage in, especially in the EU with these projects, Juho?
Absolutely. So how I see it is that we as researchers, of course, read a lot of articles and a lot of books and whatever is happening on media in our field and build this kind of like intellectual capital. But I consider social capital as important as intellectual capital, especially if we want to take our ideas forward. And of course, I come from the business school, so I know our field is highly practice oriented in a way, and we train people for certain kind of business positions to great extent. So our field might be different than many other fields, but I've noticed that this social capital, who you know, who you trust, who knows you, are really, really important when you are driving collaboration and figuring out what can you do with the research that you are doing. And also, I find these social connections extremely important for inspiring research. So when I know the businesses, what they are doing, what they are struggling and working with, I'm seeing that what are important topics, how can I develop research that would be contributing to the innovations and these issues that companies have. And I feel like that keeping up to date with the business field is extremely important for research as well.
Yes. And we've talked about international collaborations, but what about national inside Finland? I mean, you're collaborating with different ecosystems, universities, governments, policies and things like that. Jyrki?
Yeah, that's something that let's say we have forgot that in the past. So when universities, you wanted to collaborate, you started looking for collaborators outside Finland. But for example, we have the flagship program where, let's say, this kind of national collaboration is highly important and promoted. And there, let's say, it has been very fruitful because now, let's say, we can learn a lot from our other universities. We are not just competitors. We can actually collaborate and speed up many things. So yeah, this is highly important, and it's good that it has been, let's say, different pace now than in the past.
Thank you. And Juho, nationally?
Absolutely. Well, tourism field is small. The business field is a little bit bigger in Finland, but not too wide. But I find especially national collaboration with businesses and different kind of tourism organizations extremely important. And our tourism business research group is actually the only business-focused tourism group in Finland. So we have a very unique position. And with that position and based in Eastern Finland, we have wide networks and good connections with the local destinations, for example, and destination development organizations that are interested in developing Eastern Finland and Lakeland Finland as tourism destinations. And our business school and our group is playing quite a big role in this development, that we are able to expand internationally, especially here in Eastern Finland.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to the next key theme that I'd like to discuss here. Now, there's no single way to build partnerships. I've been involved in building a lot of these European corporate research partnerships, and there's very different approaches depending on who you are and who you want to work with. Now, Juho, how do you start developing a new partnership? I mean, how do you actually get things rolling?
There's kind of like two different approaches. One is this dream team approach, that you identify that you have certain kind of goals, that who would be the organizations that you would absolutely need, who would be at the very top of the game if you want to build something around this theme. And then it's very much about developing an idea that you can sell to these new partnerships. That is something that is resonating with them, that's important for them. And I'm finding success in this kind of like cold calling companies, that you would be my dream partner in this project, would you like to join in? But the other way is of course building connections and networks, and then utilizing your existing networks and the people you know and the people you trust and the people, especially people in organizations that you know that are doing cool stuff and that are on the level that you want to work with. And I'm visiting conferences, events, and all kinds of opportunities, doing keynotes and so on, just to meet these people and network with them. And I find this kind of like approach of building this social capital really important. You'd never know who are you going to be working with in the future. Just keep your eyes open, build your networks in a systematic way, introduce yourself to people, be interested in what they're doing. And I find this people-to-people connection really important, that you have these personal connections and people that you can trust.
Yes. And Jyrki, do you find that a lot of new connections actually come to you and they approach yourself and your organization through your conferences, or how do you develop new partnerships? Yeah,
so one thing is definitely you have to that people are aware of you. And that the only thing is that you just visit, you are the proactive thing. You are. So for example, I'm going to Australia, I'm going to fly via Singapore, I will stop there. I contacted the leading university there and said that, okay, I just want to come there. And you never know that what kind of connections you get there. So that's the way you have to make you people aware of what you are doing. But then, of course, let's say once you know and you have some ideas about, of course, you can check your own contacts. You can contact your contacts to ask whether they know some people. And then, of course, you have to make a cold call or call them and tell. And usually you have to be the one that you go. You cannot just ask people to come to meet you, but you have to go first there. So that you have to, and in that way you can start building the relationship. And
before this conversation, we were just talking outside about AI and how we're using AI for various things in our business. Now, do you find that the AI that you're using, does that help to prepare yourself for the meetings? Does it help to accelerate the development of new partnerships? I'll actually ask you, Juho, first.
Yeah, for me, it's I've tried to keep AI out of human connections, and really, like, I personally hate when you get an email written by AI. That if a person hasn't seen that much effort to write an email themselves, that how important can this be? So I haven't really used AI for that kind of purpose. I'm really more traditional in that way, maybe.
But researching the company and the organization and
yeah, like finding the right people, and especially if you don't know and who would be the top people, who would be the members of this dream team. That's of course what you can do. But I feel like I've done pretty well with Google as well. So AI hasn't really transformed that aspect that much, maybe saving some time, but not that kind of like big transformative effect.
Yeah. And Jyrki, with AI, there's obviously AI on the scientific discovery and development side, but then there's also how you can use it to collaborate better and to accelerate projects better. How are you using it?
Yeah, in the same way as Juha said, that also kind of finding out about, let's say, who could be the right contact or what kind of activities there are in certain university or company. But then, of course, what I try to do is also that before I go to meet people and so on, I try to find out as much as possible about the background of the company or the university or the researcher, what he or she has been doing and so on. And in that way, can, let's say, be more aware, not to start asking that, who are you? So more like, let's say, let's start talking about, because I kind of know the person beforehand or the company beforehand.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much for that. And I was going to say, actually, these new translation capabilities as well that we're getting from AI, that really helps, I guess, with getting our ideas over with different nationalities and people who are maybe not so good at conversing complex scientific things in English. Have you started using any of this real-time AI translation activities?
Not yet, but I'm aware of that, and I definitely want to start doing that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. I was in a conference in Spain, and the conference was in Spanish, but I could follow really well all of the keynotes and all of the presentations with AI translating real time what they were talking about, and then able to discuss these topics with the participants. It was really, really good because my Spanish is really, really rusty. So I'm thinking there are possibilities because not all of in the world is knowing English. And I think this kind of like we have one big English community, but there's so much science and there's so much stuff happening, especially in tourism business fields outside and different kind of regions where the English might not be the main language. So I'm feeling that there's a lot of potential there, but the question is that can we really realize, and how can we realize that potential, and who is doing that is another thing, because this English community is also quite big and global already.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd like to move on to the next theme, actually, and I'm going to start with Jyrki. Is when you get these new partnerships and these new collaborations, how do you then bring that back into the university, and how do you communicate the opportunity inside the University of Eastern Finland?
So one thing is, of course, because I'm trying to meet as many people even within the same day. So I have to start making notes. So I make either voice notes or writing notes that let's say after each meeting. And then after that, then when I'm back at the university, then of course I will contact those persons who might benefit from those contacts. So definitely to feed that, okay, this is the person. I can also introduce if you want, because I met the person and so on. So that's very important to kind of, let's say, that it doesn't just stay in your mind and your brains, but really you spread the word.
So then you connect the people in the university, and
I connect. So kind of I have a weird way in my mind. So every time I meet a person and I start talking, I start thinking about who might be the right person to contact with that. So in a way, it's kind of automatic what happens in my brain.
Yeah, and you're spread across these two campuses, main campuses in between Joensuu and Kuopio. Yeah. Is your team mainly focused in Joensuu, or do you also have teams here in Kuopio?
No, my whole team is in Joensuu, but of course we collaborate a lot with here. So, for example, we had about more than 20 scientists just last week, or this week actually, Monday, visiting here. So trying to make also the connections.
Excellent, thanks. And Juho, how do you scale what you learn out there in the market? How do you scale that and leverage it inside the university?
Well, for me, I've been investing quite a lot of time in building my LinkedIn profile and LinkedIn platform, and that's kind of like my go-to tool of connecting with these people, and also, all of these discussions that I'm seeing with my contacts, that they are posting something, then I might be able to tag somebody I know from our university, from our team, from our business school, that hey, you might be interested in this, and you might be know how to approach this issue issue or problem, and so on. So I'm trying to build contacts mainly through the LinkedIn platform, but also, of course, if there's some like immediate direct connections that I know that, hey, this person is looking at circular economy, and we have this person, Anna Lehtimäki, for example, in our business school looking at circular economy, that maybe they should be meeting up or discussing or so on. But I'm also thinking that, well, it might not be at that very moment or immediately afterwards, but you might have a need that comes sometimes a year or 2 years after this, and then you remember, hey, there's that one person who was doing this, and that's kind of like when you are able to leverage these social capitals and networks that you are building.
Very good. And now over to Jyrki. What is your feeling about 2026? What is the top 3 things that you see coming and have really got your attention in terms of the university and business collaboration?
Yeah, one thing is, of course, that there is, let's say, more and more push from the university side also on the innovations. So that's good. And we are also looking for that the Ministry of Education would also put that on the KPIs because, let's say, that's something what is missing. We don't get paid at the university about this kind of work. But they have said that they try to find also ways to measure that and also give back. So that's one thing definitely. And then I would say that we are learning more and more from abroad that this kind of innovation and this kind of this is more and more important, and we are getting more money now from the government to take our RDI and so on. So these are also very, very important things which kind of accelerate and help us.
Yes, thank you. And Juho, what's big on your radar for 2026?
Yeah, well, we are looking especially on Business Finland projects at this moment. I think there's big opportunities opening up there with innovations and also looking at innovations, let's say, from a wider perspective, that it's not just startups and new businesses, but also social innovations, policy innovations, marketing innovations as well. And I feel like these are the kind of things that should be brought forward even stronger in our university. Would be really nice to get also boost into the startup ecosystem, and I think we are moving into the right direction. Of course, one of the things that Finland is not doing economically that well, and typically those are the best times when startups really start to thrive. And I'm looking forward that maybe startups could be again this kind of like growth boost for the Finnish economy. And I think that there's a lot of potential there in the community, and we have to also help and support these ideas and scale them globally.
And as you said earlier, the SMEs as well. I mean, there's SMEs, of course, it's quite a big range from smaller SMEs to larger ones, but there's a lot of potential opportunity for them to also.
Absolutely, especially kind of like the large, small companies or small, medium-sized companies that are on growth trajectory. I think this is something that Finland might be missing quite a lot, that we have a lot of small businesses and micro-sized businesses and then larger businesses. But if we would be able to grow these medium-sized businesses and their employment effort, that would be great. And those are always great partners to work with because they are in a way agile, but at the same time they also have resources to do stuff. And I'm really enjoying collaboration, especially these kind of companies that are growing and innovating and have resources for partnerships.
Now, both you, Jyrki, and you, Juho, you kind of bridge between academia, university academia, and business as well. And there's this common myth that says that these two worlds don't communicate. But obviously, you prove that it's very possible to generate a lot of new business value and innovation between the university academia space and both big business, but also accelerating new business. What do you think about that?
Yeah, of course, let's say they are kind of in a different phase of the commercialization. So we are in the early phase at the university, and then the companies are supposed to be in the late phase and executing those. But yes, so we still speak the same language and we can bridge. I would say that the most important thing is really about the bridging so that we understand what the companies need, what is the business and so on. And on the other hand, let's say we make our science understandable to the company so that they know what we are doing so that we are not completely separated.
And Juho?
Yeah, and I think also building this kind of university culture that supports this bridging between university and industry is really important, because I've invested quite a lot of time in building these connections and developing my research and understanding what businesses care about, what they are doing, what are the issues. If I had spent all of that time writing articles, my academic profile would be completely different. But I've found it always interesting that I've been able to do things my way in the university, and it might not be the same for everybody. Somebody might be more interested in doing that research part, but I think it's always great to have people also who are interested not just in the academia part, but also how that connects with the industry, and also that we have industry people who are interested in what's going on with the academia, and those are always the best kind of connections when somebody comes from the industry. Hey, I have this kind of issue, or maybe we could work together on this, and they acknowledge that we are doing really great research in universities.
So what I've been hearing from these great insights from both of you is that Finnish and international businesses really flourish as a result of this steady flow of ideas and expertise coming out of the University of Eastern Finland, and then bringing also global and national capabilities into the university as well.
Yep.
Very good. So thank you both very much for this inspiring discussion. Thank you, Jyrki, and thank you, Juho, for joining this second episode in this podcast series with your international business and academic perspectives. Your combined expertise in both leading research and driving companies is an inspiration to everyone. So I'd like to just wrap up and say stay tuned for the next episode number 3 in this University of Eastern Finland podcast series. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.